Hello there, it's Mr. Wicklehouse, and today we are doing operations with radicals. Let's rock this out. Okay, steps to operations with radicals. So there's things that we need to do first, and then other things, and so on. So we need to be thinking about kind of order of operations here, and so the first thing we need to think about is to distribute or multiply all the things together if we need to or if we can. After I do the distribution and multiplication, I want to simplify all the radicals in the way that we did it in the last video to get it into the lowest form underneath the radical so I can figure out what goes together and what doesn't. After I do that, then I'm going to add or subtract by combining like terms. In other words, look for the radicals where the radicands, remember the radicands are the numbers underneath the radical, match, and then add or subtract the numbers in front of them. Alright, let's do some examples so you can see what all that means. Okay, so here's an example for adding. So I've got 3 radical 18 plus 2 radical 2. Well, remember, the first thing I wanted to do is see if we could multiply anything. I know these numbers out here look like we might want to multiply them, but we don't on this. The multiplication, you'll see what I was talking about later, so we're not going to do any multiplication on these. However, I am going to simplify this one a little bit. 18 is 9 times 2 is 18, and remember 9 is a prime, or rather not a prime, but it's a perfect square, which means I could take a 3 out front and multiply it by the 3, and I get 9 radical 2. And then this is 2. The radical 2 underneath doesn't get any smaller, so it's 2 radical 2. Well, remember our last step is to go ahead and do the addition with the ones that have the radicands that match. Well, we can see this radicand is 2, and this radicand is 2. So my final answer is going to have a radicand of 2 in it. And I'm not adding these or multiplying these underneath or anything. I'm just copying that radicand over. Okay? And then I'm just multiplying, or not multiplying, but adding the numbers in front of that. So 9 plus 2 is 11. So I have 11 square roots of 2. Alright? Let's look at one with subtraction in it. Alright. 45 goes into 9 and 5. 9 is a perfect square, so I got negative 3 times 3 radical 5. And negative 3 times 3, let's go ahead and just make that negative 9. Okay. 20, well that's 4 times 5. So that's, the 4 is a perfect square, so that's 2. So that's going to be negative 2 times 2, which is negative 4, radical 5. We see the radicands match, 5. So we're going to subtract these from one another. Negative 9 minus 14 is negative 13 radical 5. Okay. Alright, let's look at this one. Last one, this one just has multiple operations going on inside of it. 54 is 9 and 6. 20 is 4 and 5. 54 is 9 and 6. 9 is a 3. 9 is a 3. 4 is a 2. 2 times 3 is 6, radical 6. This is going to be 2 times 2, so plus 2 radical 5. This is going to be minus 9 is a 3 radical 6. So remember, we simplify these first as much as I can. Then I'm going to add or subtract the ones that have the radicands that match. Well, this is a 5. It doesn't match with either one of these, so I can't combine that with anything. But I've got this one and this one that has the 6 with it as the radicand. So I'm going to do 6 radical 6 minus 3 radical 6. So 6 minus 3 is 3 radical 6 plus 2 radical 5. I cannot do anything else with that. I am done. Final answer. So these up here, they matched up. We were able to combine them all together. These two. This one, I was able to combine some of it, but some of it I was not. Don't let that confuse you. Just do what you know. Okay? All right. Moving on. Multiplying. All right. So, when I'm multiplying radicals, this is just like anything else, except now the first step is that I'm going to multiply since I've got some multiplication going on. Now what happens here is whatever number is out front multiplies by whatever number is out front here. So I get 1 times 5, that's going to be 5. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the numbers underneath and I multiply those together. Okay, so I do 3 times 12. That's 36. Do not multiply the 3 times the 5 or the 12 times the 1 or anything like that. The numbers outside multiply together. The numbers inside multiply together. That's it. Don't do any kind of crazy math, making up math on your own, okay? Just multiply what's underneath, multiply what's in front. After I do the multiplication, then I can simplify. So 36, that's a perfect square. That's 6 times 6, so I could take a 6 out front. 6 times 5 is 30. I don't have anything left underneath of here. So I don't have any radical left out here at all. Don't go and be writing radical 6 or radical 36 or anything like that. If you don't have anything left after you get the pair out, then the radical just goes away. Okay? Alright, let's look at this one. This one is distribution. This distribution is just like normal. You're just multiplying that times that and that times that. Remember, there's a -1 out here. There's a -1 on this one, which means that this one's going to become +1. And then I multiply what's underneath, and that's going to give me 45. Then I get the -1 times 2 is -2. I know it doesn't look like it, but there's a radical out here. It's radical 1. We don't write it because radical 1 is 1, and that, of course, is 1. So really all you have to do, if you're multiplying this by a number, multiply the number in front, and then just drop the 15 out there on the side. So it just kind of is along for the ride when there's not any radicals out here. Okay, now let's simplify. This 45 is 9 times 5, which 9 is a perfect square, so that's 3 radical 5 minus 2 radical 15. 15 breaks down into 3 and 5. Neither one of those are perfect squares, no pairs, anything like that. So there we go. We can't get any simpler than this. Final answer. All right. Okay. Now we've got this. This is binomial distribution. You guys know this as foiling, if you remember that from Algebra 1. The lights went out. And the light to come back on. There's the light. Let's do this together. Alright. I do this one times this. This one times this. Then I do this one times this. And this one times this. So let's get her done. -2 times -4 is +8. -2 times square root of 5 is -2 square roots of 5. Alright, we're done with that one. Now let's do this one. -2 square root of 5 times -4 Negative 2 times negative 4 is positive 8 square roots of 5. Then we do negative 2 square root of 5 times square root of 5, which is negative 2 square root. 5 times 5 is 25. Alright, let's do some simplification. This doesn't simplify, that doesn't simplify, that doesn't simplify. 25, however, is a perfect square. It's going to simplify into 5, so we've got negative 2 times 5. That's going to be negative 10. Got 8 minus 2 radical 5 plus 8 radical 5 minus 10. Combine like terms together. 8 and negative 10 is negative 2. Negative 2 with the radical 5 and an 8 with the radical 5. These both have radical 5, so I can combine them together. Negative 2 and 8 is plus 6 radical 5. Okay? This is typically how you're going to see this written. Some of you might think about this as 6 radical 5 minus 2. Be careful when you're writing it like this, because sometimes our square roots tend to extend out, and then we start thinking that the negative 2 is underneath the radical. It should not be. There we go. The end. That's it. If you have questions, come and talk to me. I can't wait to see ya. Have a wonderful day. See you later.